He's the best quarterback that I have ever seen, right? At his best, I have never seen a quarterback who was this good. We had a similar discussion about Aaron Rodgers. No, I take the best of Mahomes over the best of Aaron Rodgers, the criticism of Aaron Rodgers being risk aversion, right?
Yeah, and I mean, not to go, full meta here, but with Patrick Mahomes, we have a demonstrated clutch gene
We do.
that we cannot say with the same with Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, what's amazing about Aaron Rodgers is that he seems primarily concerned with not making mistakes, but could still make high-end plays. But there's a long stretch of his career where he wasn't winning no games down by 10 points or more because of the level of risk aversion, right? It's an irony because it's a similar criticism of the guy who was taken number one overall the same year that Aaron Rodgers went 24 or 25, which is Alex Smith.
Yeah, with tied into Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I'm just going to not make a mistake. That's what I'm going to do. Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and that is as a starter, 18, 19, 20, 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
And been to 2 more.
Never lost. Well, hold on. Has only played, 2 road playoff games in this whole time? Played 2. Has only lost 2 playoff games prior to the Super Bowl.
Both in the AFC title game.
Both in the AFC title game. Has lost in the Super Bowl, but I still contend, and I don't care what anybody says, and this is not what them kids try to call it, glazing. That game against Tampa Bay is the wildest. That's the first 1-on-11 NFL game that I have ever seen. And it had some of the most incredible individual plays ever. We have already seen Mahomes at that place where you put up the giant numbers, the Dan Marino 1984 type numbers. We have also seen him be at the place where it's just like, oh, I just got to do what it takes to get it done. Just keep moving these chains. Okay, cool. We're going to do that. We've seen him do it. I think we feel like we've seen him do it with great offensive talent. We've seen him do it without great offensive talent. We have not seen him do it with a team that was great on offense and great on defense. For example, we lose sight of how good the 49ers with Joe Montana were on defense. We have seen some Patriots teams. The Patriots teams are kind of like that too. Great on offense, maybe great on defense. At the same times, not quite so much, but you still felt like, yeah, Bill Belichick over there, right? We don't know where this story is going to end with Mahomes, but they just came off a really disappointing 15-win season. Think about what I just said here. They came off a really disappointing 15-win season, and they got better in the offseason. Now, I'm sure there's going to be a point at which Rashee Rice has got to sit for a stretch or whatever, but the idea that Mahomes catches Tom Brady in Super Bowl wins is not off the table. It is also fair to say it's a somewhat crazy thought. Like the thing to remember by and large, with Tom Brady maybe being the exception, very rarely has anybody won their last Super Bowl, their last NBA championship, their last major, and people assume that that was the last one. That's not really how it works, right? One day you just look back and you're like, damn, that was the last one. Because why would you think it? They just won it now. Why couldn't they win it again or whatever? 7 would be a lot for him to get to. But we don't have the why not answer. Yeah, he's there. Now, it becomes a matter of how well the Chiefs can keep this up and whether they're going to make the decision to operate on the premise of we got Patrick Mahomes, let's fortify the defense and let's just ask him to get the rest done. I think maybe the most underrated part of this is he is doing this in a golden age of young quarterbacking. Okay? They're all in his conference and they're all basically the same age. Not exactly the same age, but his first year as a starter is the same as Josh Allen. It's the same as Lamar Jackson. If you want to extend it just a little bit farther, it's the same year as Baker Mayfield. He was in the same draft with, he's not good anymore, but Deshaun Watson, his old nasty ass was pretty good there for a little stretch. Like, this isn't a downtime. Joe Burrow comes in as a starter 2 years after he did. These aren't slow times, right? He's not the one guy while this is going down. No. He's that dude, And I've seen someone make a point. I can't remember who it was. It was on Twitter, but it was very interesting. But if you look back at the 1980s and the late 70s, the AFC had the quarterbacks, but then in the 80s, you saw the NFC became dominant because the way they got things done was running the ball and with defense. That was how it went. You see something very similar now happening with the NFC also. When you think about the Eagles, my Detroit Lions, America's team, for example, they running the ball. Like, that's how they're getting it done, while the other conference has those quarterbacks. Those quarterbacks cost a little bit more money. You can fortify more on the other side of the ball, and then you see who wins in the Super Bowl when it comes down to it. But Mahomes is dictating a world in which, in the AFC, you got to have a quarterback. You don't feel like you can consider going up there and dealing with those guys if you don't have the quarterback. That's right. And nobody wants to feel that way. He is, like, I'm trying to think of who the analog, I have been comparing him to Michael Jordan for a very long time, right? But he's a Jordan analog in the sense that you could feel like you got everything going for you till you got to go over there and you see him, right? Like, and the teams that have beaten the Chiefs in the Super Bowl with Mahomes as their quarterback were, again, that Tampa team where I'll say it again. They put that what they call it, around a slate. They put that slate up on the TV, and it had Mike Remmers at left tackle, and I was like, ooh, I have judged incorrectly on who's going to win this game. And then the Eagles, who just were so much better at every position, right? So it's not a situation where we got Mahomes, nothing else matters. But picking against him still does not at all. No, I've picked against Tom Brady many times. I ain't never felt like I thought that picking against this guy was going to be a good idea. Now, part of that is because I watch a lot of football with Nick, and I don't necessarily want to go home after I've already, walked 20 blocks to get there. You know what I'm saying? But he's that guy. He's that one. And we saw it very, very, very early. He is the rare example of these quarterbacks where you see it early, and there really hasn't been the drop-off. There kind of has, right? Like, the last couple of years, he's not putting up the video game numbers in the ways that his peers have, right? And quarterback play kind of goes up and down like that, where you can be better even though your statistics aren't as good. Josh Allen, I believe it was 2020 or 2021, one of those years where he had the super lights out stats. It's never going to be like that again. He is clearly much better than he was at that point. Like, that's why using stats for your quarterback comparisons get tricky and why you have to actually watch. It's because of all those things. But this guy has walked in and basically been the king since the second he showed up. And even when people pass him his stats, even when he loses a Super Bowl, he is still the king, and it's still the beginning.